All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Again, thank you for your coverage of 2024 LSU baseball. This is the first press conference of the season. Practice officially opens later this afternoon. Again, if you guys, once we start into the Q&A portion, if you would wait till either Bailey or Mason get to you with a portable mic to ask your question, we'd greatly appreciate it. So we'll go ahead and bring up Coach Johnson. Coach Johnson, as you know, is the 2023 National Coach of the Year, entering his third season as the head coach of the reigning national champions. Coach Jay Johnson.
Okay, good to see everybody. When I come in here for this, it's always a reminder that there's no place like LSU to play college baseball, and very grateful, for the coverage and the exposure all of you, give our players and our program. It's truly unique relative to our sport. We've had a great 6.5, 7 months since ending 2023. Very proud of the players in terms of what they've done and put in. We have a lot of really good development stories that, will come to light as we get into the 2024 season. Really pleased with how they've operated both on and off the field. It's always a goal of ours to be a low drama program, and to this point we continue to be successful in that. Another really good semester in the classroom, second one where we've exceeded any team GPA for LSU baseball. And as I said, a lot of work on the field. Again, for the third year in a row, we've had a ton of transition in terms of our coaching staff, and couldn't be more convicted that we definitely have the right guys in the building and the positive impact they're having, on our players, and have mixed well with myself, Coach Jordan, Coach Wanaka, Jamie Tutko, but adding Coach Yeski on the pitching side of things, Coach McMillan on the strength and conditioning side of things, and Terry Rooney has been a massive lift for us, and really happy with how we're operating on a daily basis in terms of moving the way that we want to. Logistically, how this will shake out is we'll have 18 practices over the next 21 days with 3 off days. Those will, largely depend on weather. My hope is to scrimmage 11 or 12 times, over those 18 days, and get ourselves prepared for opening day. No different than usual. We treat the season like a 56-game playoff, and it is in college baseball. And so the goal is to have our team as ready as we can, for opening day. And then, we're obviously going to need to improve and find out what our best team is as we go. But really exciting time in terms of attacking the challenges that 2024 presents.
Mason or Bailey know.
Hey, Coach, here in the back. How do you raise the bar in 2024 after last year's season?
Well, that's how I operate my entire life, is always like what decisions can propel us in the program forward. And in terms of results, it's hard to do much better than that team did. I think attacking different challenges and what I would call our process of winning and constantly improving that. And, college baseball and college athletics is kind of under construction, as we know it. But if I look at how we operate, and this is always how I choose to do it, at the highest possible level, what improvements can we make in doing that? I'll give you an example. Very thankful to our administration. We were able to go get Jeremy McMillan, who I believe is the best strength coach in college baseball, and bring him in. And just in a month's time from the time we were done with them in the fall until they returned in January, players are stronger, they're moving better, more functional in baseball. So that would be an example of trying to raise the bar. I think, bringing in, Terry Rooney, along with Josh Jordan and myself, try to recruit at the highest possible level and continue to add the talent needed to compete at the top of college baseball on an annual basis, which has been not easy to do, in this modern era. And I believe there's several reasons for that. But I think, our MO as a program is always focusing on what's important right now, and how we do what we do. We all know what we want to do, but how we get there is where we put all of our focus.
Coach, I have two questions. What did you see in Gage Jump to want him to get him to come here and want him to come here? And then how has he come back from the injury? And then the second one is about Paxton Clay, getting the chance to be able to play every day, and it's his, he's competing for a spot in center field. How much more less pressure does he have this year, maybe than he had last year coming in as a freshman?
Yeah, in reference to Gage, I recruited him extremely hard at Arizona. It's one of those guys that when you're out there, like, we have to have this guy. And very rarely do you get this talent meets character, meets competitive, meets, maybe he's a tick undersized, so we might be able to squeeze him through the Major League Baseball draft out of high school. And we worked hard. We didn't get him. He chose to go to UCLA, but in that process, I felt like we built a good rapport and relationship. And with that, when he decided to go in the transfer portal, it wasn't that hard to reconnect. And then you're looking at some of the stories of last year's team and what that team accomplished, and what guys that maybe were in a similar situation a year ago, how coming to LSU elevated them and where they wanted to go. It was a attractive, deal, but was the number one priority, in terms of what we were going to do in the transfer portal. And maybe we're a little lucky that he was a little bit more under the radar because he missed last season. But, once I saw that, it was, let's try to get this done. Now, returning from the injury, he missed the 2022 season. We've been very deliberate about that. I think he threw a total of 6 innings in the fall, and we built him up to, he threw 1 inning, and then 2 innings in the 2 outside scrimmages against McNeese and Louisiana Lafayette. He'll throw 2 innings, today or this weekend, and, we'll build him, accordingly, to be effective as he can be at the beginning and improve as the season goes along. But he's responded really well. In regards to Paxton, massive, get for us to, once he opened up as a recruitment, to get him back to LSU. And, it's easy to forget that, he was hitting leadoff opening day last year on that team. And so that says everything you need to know about what I believe, Paxton's capability and ceiling is. I have great faith in him. I think he's made some great strides in his development. He's one of those guys, as I said, I'm excited for everyone to see the fruits of the labor of the work that they've put in his case, both physically and mentally, and experience. Let's not forget he grew up in Pennsylvania, which, because of weather, you have to overcome that in terms of your baseball development. And, he had a couple injuries last year, which, didn't allow him to maybe stay in there, but was starting a game in the SEC tournament, had 100 at-bats, had a very successful 100 at-bats. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find 10 more freshman players in the SEC that had as effective a season as Paxton. So it's his time, and I'm super excited about that. And love coached him. He's a great kid, great talent, and really happy for where he's headed.
Hey, Coach. I have 2 questions. One, how has the team adjusted to now being the hunters from last year? And then Jake Brown was one of the top left-handed pitchers in the country out of the class of 2023. How has he looked in the outfield, and what does he need to keep improving on?
Yeah, to your first question, I don't think there's any transition in terms of how we're viewed. I've never seen a team with more expectations on it than last year's team. And to be clear, it's 2 different teams. So in terms of the returning players, they know exactly what's coming because it was coming in the same wave last year. I think, our whole thought process behind that is we're not defending anything. When you're being hunted, you're kind of on defense. We're not doing that. We're attacking 2024 and this opportunity. And we've put a lot of time in explaining to the team exactly what that looks like from a mindset standpoint. And so feel really good about that. In terms of Jake Brown, obviously one of the best high school players in the country. Much like, Paxton, we had to work hard to get him through the MLB draft, and we did. And love the fact that, he's from Louisiana and how much he loves LSU, and playing here meant something. It's always a good sign when your recruit goes and watches your team in the College World Series. And if you're sitting in that crowd, I mean, especially as an LSU person, and seeing that in the opening game against Tennessee, like, you're not going and playing minor league baseball in front of 12 dudes in Goodyear, Arizona. You're not. And, I think he's really developed on the position player side of it. I'm not surprised at that. I saw him play in the spring last year when his team was over here playing locally, and he's a great athlete, has the right kind of toughness, and there's a lot of guys that fit into this category, but he's what I want, an LSU player or incoming player to be, and really happy about Jake on both sides of the ball.
Goodyear is lovely this time of year.
It is this time of year, for sure. Not in July.
Everyone wants to know about your rotation and your staff, I guess. So just get us caught up to speed on where you're at identifying, the guys that you think will be useful early this season.
Yeah, in terms of the pitching staff, we like where we're at. It was a really deliberate effort, really from the first day of being here to improve or upgrade the pitching talent. It's obviously the most important part of winning baseball. Winning starts and ends on the mound. So I think we did a great job over 2.5 years or 2 years leading into this school year of assembling and collecting a lot of pitching talent. And I think last year's pitching staff was great. It was so deep that we were able to survive injuries and still win the national championship. I think we're in a really good spot. The next few weeks will determine a lot. We're going to be super deliberate in terms of building up pitch counts. There's certainly more than 3 guys that we're extending their pitch counts. We have 8 games in the first 10 days of the season, trying to fit in the 56 in 14 weeks. And I'm excited about that because I think we're well positioned. Obviously at the end of the season last year, there wasn't 4 better pitchers in the country than Thatcher Hurd. Obviously from probably the time, had a great close game at Auburn, really kind of epic 5-inning performance at Georgia to help us win that game in 12 innings, outstanding effort in the SEC tournament. Maybe the performance of the season here in the regional against Oregon State in the lightning delay game. Didn't actually have to use them in the super regional, but held the #1 team in the country to 1 run over 6 innings in 2 appearances. And then obviously a phenomenal performance in the championship game. So he's obviously, in the top of that mix. We talked about Gage Jump. He'll definitely be a part of that mix. Adding Luke Holman from Alabama, maybe as important as anything that we did to improve this team. I think he was one of the top pitchers in the league last year that will be returning this year. And so you probably start there. I think there's another layer of the staff. Nate Ackenhausen is, I trust Nate with my life. That performance against Tennessee was amazing. He was kind of a go-to guy in all the key games, especially early in the season, and feel comfortable with him really doing anything. And so you'll see him in that mix. Griffin Herring, again, also, Omaha hero, but also very, very important in terms of what we did last year. He got to the point early in the SEC schedule where we could bring him in leverage situations, and he came through and gave us some length while he was doing that. And so those are guys that I feel good about. And then there's a ton on the back end, and there's a ton. Justin Lohr, transfer from Xavier, will be a guy that you will go to a lot. I love everything about him. I love the pitchability, the competitiveness, the toughness, the focus. It's winning pitching, in terms of Justin. Cameron Johnson, obviously well documented in terms of his talent, and that will speak for itself. I think with Cameron, the most important thing, or the most impressive thing to me, is he is more mature beyond his years relative to being ready for this, and he has a ton of confidence. He should have a ton of confidence, but he's controlling those things really well. Gavin Guidry, obviously, was as important as anybody to our success. Some guys have elevated themselves from last year. DJ Primo, Aiden Moffitt. I mean, both those guys essentially didn't pitch last year. They'll be moving on to professional baseball after next year when it's their time. Like, that's how much talent they have, and really excited about what they've done, with Coach Yeski. Christian Little, very good fall. So really happy about that. And Kate Anderson, another freshman that has got a chance to be a superstar. I would include him in that potential starting mix. I like the fact that we could be right-handed when we need to, left-handed when we need to, depth, matchup. And so I think we're in a really good spot.
Hey, Coach. With Josh moving to second base, what's the chemistry sort of look like between him and Michael Braswell up the middle?
Yeah, I love Josh Pearson. I think he's one of those guys that you can ask him to do anything, and he's going to find a way within his talent or skill set to do it. I think it's my job to always look at how do you raise the ceiling of your team, be thoughtful of that, and then give them a plan to go work to execute that, and then open up options and opportunities. Let's not forget we largely won the national championship because of the ball he caught off Wyatt Langford's bat in Game 1. If that gets over his head, we don't win the national championship. So he's an outstanding outfielder. He can go back to the outfield at any minute. He's a clutch hitter, and the efforts that he's made, from the end of fall baseball till now, I mean, he looks like a second baseman, and I'm proud of him for that. I think Michael, as you mentioned, Michael Braswell has done a great job of moving him forward a little bit. For a guy that hasn't played a lot of college infield with Josh, watching them work together has been really good, and really excited about that. And it gives us lineup flexibility. Obviously, we could put him back in left or right field at any time. The thought that we could play him at second base is good, and creates the depth kind of that we need, because if there's one area that depth's been something that we've had to pay attention to, it's been with infielders, and again, being deliberate in who you go about getting in the portal, like we did with Michael and Ben Napolt. Having Josh in there gives us, in my opinion, 5 good options in the infield, and I feel a lot better about that now.
Yeah, right over here. You mentioned, just kind of building off that question a little bit, just positional versatility with guys like Josh, and then Jake Brown, Brady Neal, Hayden Travinsky, all seeing different positions. How deliberate was that as a position as a whole, just to kind of get a number of guys action at different spots this offseason so they can provide you that versatility, and what are the benefits you could see of that during the 2024 season? Well,
the benefit was we knew we needed to improve the pitching staff, and so we did that. And so when you're recruiting more pitching, investing in more pitching, in terms of scholarships, the number on that position player side goes down in terms of guys ready to step in and win an SEC game. So the fact that they can do multiple things really helps. You mentioned the catchers with, Brady. I have no problem throwing Brady second base, third base, left field, right field as just a ball player. Hayden, we'll see a lot of time with DH at bats. There's no question about that. I think he'll be one of the most dangerous hitters in college baseball this year, and we're working hard to keep him healthy and in position to do that. Alex is probably exclusively a catcher. Jake Brown can play all 3 outfield spots, can play first base, and it helps a lot, especially with maybe the construction of this roster in terms of where we sit today. The fact that guys can move around is going to help us with depth, with matchups, because it may not be quite the same in terms of bodies. I believe that it will be at some point, whether that's this year or next year or what, because guys are really developing in front of our eyes, and we've seen some of that since we've come back, but it really helps, on this team.
Hey, Coach. Christian Little, one of the guys that you talked about wanting to take that extra step of development moving into the season. You said he had a great fall, but can you elaborate a little bit on that development towards the team this season?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things about coaching college baseball is that development happens at different times 4 guys, and Christian, decided to go to college a year early, and that's a big jump. I mean, that's a big jump in the Southeastern Conference, going from high school baseball in Missouri to the moon is the way I look at that. And so, there's some scars in that, and that's how you get better though. We have a saying with the players is, not everybody likes to get messy, but the messy is where the development happens. And he's had success. I mean, had some great outings, closed out that win at Texas last year, threw great against Kentucky here to start us off in that game, got us out of a big jam somewhere else in SEC play, finished the game at Texas A&M. So he was a contributor on the national championship team, but when you look at his ability to throw 4 pitches for strikes, movement, velocity, makes the ball go down, can soften hitters up, we all believe in his ceiling. And so I think he put in a lot of work in the summertime on his own and then came back in a better place. And I think the working relationship with him and Coach Yeski has been really good. And I'm excited to see that. And I'm looking forward to, the maturity side of it, the mental side of it that will allow that talent to show up consistently, because the talent is good enough to when it shows up consistently, you're talking about a high impact difference maker.
Here, you mentioned the conviction of knowing that you have the right guys in the building on a staff-wise. Are there specific examples that you could maybe elaborate on that you saw this fall, where it's maybe some feedback from the players or the coaches
Yes.
saying, hey, this is the right guys?
Yeah, for sure. Happy to. And looking at, the guys that were here last year, Jamie Tutko as an example. I mean, there's one person that stands next to me in the dugout, and I trust Jamie with my life. And the amount of work that he and I and the rest of our staff put in from a scouting standpoint to make sound in-game decisions super important. And, he came to me in September and was like, he felt like he's had a few aha moments in terms of what we need to do with certain players, and doing some additional research. So, we just won 54 games in a national championship, and you got an important staff member going like, I'm trying to get better. So that's an example of that. With Coach Wanaka, super important, to me, the only coach that's been on my staff the whole time, the effort he puts into positioning the defense, individual work with players, us being in lockstep with developing our position players. I mean, that's just continuing to grow. And really, I mentioned the work that some of these guys have put in. They look different now than they did in November. Physically standing in the box, maturity-wise, all those types of things. Josh Jordan, we had another good, recruiting cycle for pushing it forward. And, you can't work any harder than Josh. And then Terry has added that same element. This is all I do. This is all I do. And those guys are here before me, and they leave after me, which is nearly impossible. And so that makes you feel good. And then, to your point, player feedback and pitcher feedback on Coach Yeski's been phenomenal. And that's why I brought him here. I brought him here to know exactly what I was getting out of a pitching coach. And we haven't even seen the best of it yet because the games haven't started. That's where I think he really adds a tremendous amount of value. But, talking about Christian Little, the improvement there, DJ Primo, we had him and Coach Yeski working one-on-one in the mornings all fall. And that worked really, really well. And you're taking a guy that redshirted, couldn't even put him on a mound, and you'll be in the game at important times. And so, in its totality, Coach McMillan, on the strength side of it, Isaac Trujillo in the training room, and feel real good about it.
Coach, what did last year teach your returning players, and what can it teach your new players that even in the national championship season, there'll be losses, there'll be struggles, there'll be times where some fans will say this team's not going anywhere, and to block out the outside noise and, maintain the course?
I think valuing the work you put in every day, and when you know that you've put maximum effort towards preparation and readiness to execute your job to help the team win, that you can play with a bunch of peace of mind. And I think that's what we did. To be number one for 12 or 13 weeks in a row, that's amazing in the SEC. And, I think this year's no different. I saw something like there's 9 ranked teams, 7 teams in the top 10. Like, nobody does what we do. Like, nobody plays the schedule that we play. And so, understanding that if they put the hay in the barn, they stay connected to the path that we need to do to win, that you will get results. They also, I think, learned, even though, in my opinion, it was really minimal, but, failure is not fatal unless you allow it to be from a mindset standpoint. And, I think we exhibited that really well. Home series loss here late, even though we won like 7 SEC series in a row, lost 2 in the SEC tournament, which is basically because of me. I mean, the decisions that I made to pull pitchers out of the game and not play certain players. But they responded from that, played our best baseball of the year in the postseason last year. The Yankees were not beating us in the regional or super regional last year. And then in Omaha, I mean, you lose game 2, which we played good. We lost to one of the best pitchers in the country in a great game that they got a 2-out hit in the 8th inning, and we didn't. And so, bouncing back from that to win 3 in a row, and then, the 24-4 game. So I just think they're well positioned to understand what this is really about. And so if they keep their eye on the ball, no pun intended, that, you can get through things. And we're going to have to do that, because the only thing I can ever guarantee them in a college baseball season is adversity. And so we're going to need to utilize that experience for our benefit for 2024.
Yeah, Jay, what were your conversations with Travinsky like to get him to come back, and what's his greatest value to this team? Why you wanted him back?
Yeah, and I did work hard on that. There was guys on last year's team where it was their time to go. Even if it was a little bit in the middle, it was definitely their time to go for their best interests. And I always try to find a situation where the player wins and the program wins. And with Hayden, at least since I've been here, he hasn't had a stretch where he's been healthy. And so I still believed there was more on the table for him at LSU. And he believed the same. And it is really cool to see that type of maturity, because he definitely could have been drafted and signed. I mean, that was all him to decide that he wanted to do this. And so in terms of value, I already said I think he will be one of the most dangerous hitters in college baseball this year. I mean, I think he's gotten better. I thought he got better last year, and throughout this fall, the maturity in the at-bats is what you'd expect of a guy with that talent, with this experience to have. Now it's our job to keep him healthy, keep him on track, and really pleased with Hayden, Alex, Tommy, Thatcher, Josh Pearson, Will Helmers. Those guys saw the value of great player leadership last year, and maybe one of those lessons that Jock was referring to, and they're paying that forward in a big way, and he's right at the center of that.
Hey, Coach. Brady Neal obviously contributed in a really, really big way last season, for the better part of the season, before his injury. After that injury, how did he kind of shift in ways that he can still contribute, but obviously in a much different way? What did those roles look like? What was his attitude towards those roles?
Yeah, Brady, again, like Christian, he skipped his senior year of high school. And probably lucky for us, because he probably wouldn't be here had he not done that. And he was a huge part of our team. We were never not the number 1 team in college baseball with him as the everyday catcher. And that was a blow at the time, and luckily we were well positioned with Alex and Hayden to overcome that. And I remember it was pretty clear he was going to be out for a while when he got hurt, and I grabbed him the very first game. He wasn't playing, and I just pointed at Cade Beloso, and I said, hey, I want you to watch every single at-bat that Cade Beloso takes the rest of the season, because if you can do this, along with all the other things that you do well, you're going to leave here a very happy player, and there's going to be a pro team that's going to be really happy to draft you really high someday. And, it was a tricky injury, so it wasn't like, hey, just rehab and get better. Like, it needed the time that we gave it, and he's in a good spot now. And I think he grew a ton, and that's part of why guys need to come here. And it's just, we want it to be all sunshine and rainbows, Dylan Cruz from the first AB of his life till, singling to center field in his last, and it just doesn't happen like that. And so I'm proud of him. I'm proud of his growth and development, and just the conversations he and I have now on a daily basis are much more advanced than they were a year ago. And, he's going to be a huge part of this team, this year and next year.
Trey was so good for you at first last year. How are you positioned to field that position now?
Yeah, Jared is going to probably be the first baseman as of today. Much like Paxton, that's a guy I want to get behind and go. And as long as the mindset is right, then I feel good about that. He's a huge target. I thought he was so good, or maybe a little more advanced than we thought, that it allowed us to pass the time where Trey was hurt and couldn't catch the ball at first base from a throw across the infield, that we could leave him in the outfield. And Jared, over 300 and hit 14 homers in the SEC as a freshman. That's great production. And he's super competitive. He's obviously super talented. We've survived 2 years of Coach Kelly not trying to drag him over there and play D-line. So that's a good thing. I texted, somebody around him and just like, hey, make sure he's continuing to get his work in over break defensively, because defense at first base, as we saw, is one of the most undervalued things in baseball. But I like where he's at right now.
That's just kind of my follow-up. It's different athletically, right? But it doesn't mean it can't be successful.
Yeah, for sure. And again, the player you're talking about, pretty special. Sometimes he would just fall on the ball and I'd have no idea how he caught it. Special hand-eye coordination, confidence, all those types of things. But we had a little joke, Jared and I, going through this year. It's and it's already broken. Hey, I never want to hear how good a first baseman Trey Morgan is again, because they already forgot, because you're just doing your job. You don't have to be spectacular Gold Glove like that, but that you're just doing your job. And I think he's even doing a little more than that right now. So I'm excited about that.
You mentioned Cade Anderson earlier. Just what have you seen from him since he stepped on campus, and how big of a role can he have this year?
Yeah, really pleased. I think had he not had the injury in high school, he may have been difficult to get to college. And it's one of those things that maybe we got lucky. I think the poise, far beyond the years, the athleticism, the confidence, so those mental game pieces where players have to develop the most, probably. He checks a lot of those boxes. And then you talk about explosive life on the fastball, the breaking ball going down, soften up with the changeup. It's pretty good. He's really good. And, same kind of thing. We're trying to bring him along back from the injury in a intentional way, in a smart way, because, that's a huge piece of LSU baseball moving forward, like Cam and like Jake Brown and like Stephen Milam, Ashton Larson. So,
I think you said you were recruiting while you were in Omaha, right?
Yes.
Having to recruit. I was wondering how long did you allow yourself to celebrate the championship? And obviously everyone talks about you win a championship. It's easy to want to take a breath and enjoy it a little bit, but how have you tried to have the mindset of, as you said, attacking, and how are you trying to translate that to the team?
Okay, that was a lot, Scott. That's okay. No, it's all good. Definitely work needed to be done in Omaha, and I'm very proud of what we accomplished while we were there. We got Michael Braswell, we got Justin Lohr, and we got Kate Woods, all while we were in Omaha, and we were setting the table for Luke Holman, Gage Jump, and Mac Bingham. And so I feel like we executed that really well. As far as time off and enjoying, this is interesting. I tried not to go to bed on the Monday night after we won. I made it till about 4:40. And then the next day we flew home, and that was great, the flight, and got back. And then, it was just like, hey, there's a few things I need to do. Nobody was worried about us getting our appropriate time to celebrate. So I remember doing some things the next day. Celebration was phenomenal. But then Thursday and Friday, we had individual meetings with the team, and, got on a plane Saturday morning. And it was fun seeing a few of our supporters at the BTR airport going like, what are you doing? It's like, trying to do it again. And went out and saw Luke Holman, that day. And so That was kind of the timeline on that. I think as far as your question, which that's where my focus is at, is, honoring the process of how we roll, for lack of a better way to say it. And I'm really pleased with the players right now. There is just a attitude about we need to go about this a certain way, to try to keep our seat at the table, or make our seat at the table, because we have a great schedule, we have great challenges. It's another up year for the SEC. Everybody's getting twice as many players as we are in the portal, and so there's some challenges, but how they're going about attacking those challenges has been really positive. There's no complacency, and just this thought that there's a need to accomplish something for them. Last year it was, we need to want to get back to the top. Again, one step at a time, but program hadn't been to Omaha in 6 years. And then now it's about them creating their own legacy. Not easy to do. This is the best program in college baseball. There's only one time in the 2000s have been to Omaha back to back. So that tells you how hard it is. And so if it's that hard to have any chance to create their own legacy, it's going to require their undivided attention. And so we've celebrated appropriately, and when the season's over, and people want to still celebrate 2023, it's great. But for now, this just requires our full attention. And that's how we try to do it all the time, so I don't think it's that big a shift.
Zeb Ruddle obviously was a guy who redshirted last season. What has he sort of done, I guess, over the last 8-9 months to sort of prove that he could be a guy who could help you guys out this season?
Yeah, Zeb had used his time well last year while he was redshirting. He added some strength. He went out to summer ball, had a really good summer. Cal Ripken League for the Bethesda Big Train. Had a good fall, played well in the outside games. And, I love his work ethic. I love his toughness. Again, he is an exact type of person that we need and want in the program. Understood, the situation last year. And it's a competitive situation again this year, but there's at-bats for him to get. And he's one of those guys that early returns in terms of how he looks today is better than how he looked in the fall. And I wouldn't expect anything less because of the work ethic and the character of the person. And we're trying to give him a really specific template, as we do all the players, of where we need them to get to make the best impact on the team. I think he's definitely doing that.
Hey, Coach, back in the back again. Back to Tuco. You mentioned him earlier. Tucko, excuse me. I'm assuming you know about the situation with the gentleman helping his mom in the airport, and he was offering LSU tickets.
Yeah.
What does that say about his character?
Yeah, he's a 10. Yeah, that's one of the most important people in my life. There's probably 5 of them. Jamie's on that list, but that's classic him, and everybody's like, whoa, what a cool story, and this and that. I see it every day. So it is a cool story, but I'm not surprised, just because that's how he is.
Hey, Coach, in the back here. What are some of the unique things that Tommy brings to this team, and what are you hoping that he could add to his game this season?
Yeah. What is wrong with you people? It took us however many minutes to get to the best hitter in college baseball. Good job. He's special, dude. Just the competitive nature is second to none. When he steps in the batter's box, it's something else. And obviously we saw that to the tune of whatever it was, 105 RBIs. And it wasn't just 105 RBIs. It was always when we needed it. You know what I mean? And just the drive to be as good as he possibly can be, the intent behind that, and it served him well. Surgery right after Omaha on his shoulder, missed the entire fall, but kept his body in a great spot, took an exceptional step in leadership, during that time, and super proud of Tommy for that. And then, has rehabbed in a way where he's ready to go. And you wouldn't know that he didn't take an at-bat for 6 months. the way he looks right now. And so I'm proud of him for that. So just complete is, again, the word that I would use, and super excited about him being here this year again.
Coach, the role that you see for Gavin, do you see anytime middle infield kind of thing, or is it Gavin Guidry, the pitcher? And what have you seen in terms of the development of Gavin this year and through the fall on the mound?
Yeah, he's going to mainly focus on pitching. With that being said, he's such a good athlete that when you trickle down the roster for SEC play, I have no problem putting him in to play defense, run, step up to the bat, execute something. But we're going to put the focus on pitching because I don't want to say we didn't throw him into pitching. We built him up to pitch last year, but he didn't pitch in the fall last year. And the load that he took on throughout the season, we did not have him pitch in the fall. We went back to the position player thing, and so kind of slowly built him up again. But I'm really excited for him to be able to dive in on this and this alone and see where we can get his ceiling. And as a competitor, he's going in the game. I mean, that's just how I feel. Like when he's on the mound, I feel like you're going to win. You know, and there's a lot of guys on this staff that I feel that way about. So I think there's some untapped potential by focusing on that, but we're not abandoning the potential to contribute on the two-way thing. We're just going to put more focus on the pitching for his benefit.
What were your first thoughts when you heard Michael Braswell was going to be leaving South Carolina? And how important is it that he came to LSU?
Yeah. So my first thoughts was he went in the transfer portal, and I yelled at Josh, like, get me his number, like, yesterday. And so he did, and we called him, and he's like, hey, Coach, we had just beaten Kentucky in the Super Regional. And if you remember, game 2, that was a game, like, Jordan made, like, 3 ridiculous plays. Like, ridiculous, like Major League Baseball caliber plays. And I remember being happy we're going to Omaha, but the way my brain works, like, man, it's going to be hard to replace, you know, that caliber of defense. And so I was talking to Michael, who was excited to hear from us. He's like, yeah, I'll come down when you guys get back from Omaha. And I was like, no, why don't you come tomorrow? And so he flew in the next day, and we had a good couple days. And I think, you know, the day before the first game in Omaha, he called and said he was going to come to LSU. And he means a lot to our team, and this is with great respect for other players. It's kind of hard to imagine our team this year without him, and he's done a great job defensively. He's better than I thought, and I always had a high opinion of him. Like, we brought him here because I liked him. You know, whenever we were scouting another opponent that South Carolina was playing, myself and Coach Wanaka were like, man, this would be a great guy to have, just casually saying it. And then when we played them last year, both in Columbia and in the SEC tournament, like, I thought he took very mature at bats, and I just like how he plays. Like, it's just like it's this guy that's going to make everybody else around him better, and that's absolutely the way that it's happened. And so when he went in the portal, it was like, no, man, you need to show up. And so he was here the one day between us, you know, winning the Super Regional and leaving for Omaha, and thankfully he chose to come here, and it's one of those deals that's mutually beneficial. Him and Coach Wanaka have put in a lot of work on the offensive side of it, and I think he led our team in hitting in the fall, and has a really good idea of what he's doing right now.
Just about time to wrap up with Coach Johnson. Anyone else have a question for Coach? One more for Michael.
I can't get Dan to get on a mic, so can you give us any facility updates, any wish lists, things that obviously won't be time for this season, but something you're looking forward towards in the future?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's two things, you know, in terms of stadium upgrades. You have the player development, which that's always number one for me, and then you have the fan amenities. The fan amenities I'm going to leave to them, you know, and I want to make sure that our fans are taken care of, and, you know, our administration is well positioned to do that better. You know, we want to just expand our hitting facility with an indoor infield and make it awesome. And I mentioned that several players have put themselves in a better position for this year because of the work that they put in. We've built a culture of where they show up and they work on their own, and I want them to have an awesome place to do that and to, you know, push ourselves forward, that's the next thing that we need to do. And so there's a lot of planning, going on with that, and we want to make that happen, sooner rather than later, obviously. All right, thank you guys.
All right, thanks very much to Coach Johnson. We'll start with our players. Our first player will be Gage Jump. Gage, as Coach told you, transferred here from UCLA. Left-hander, a redshirt sophomore, and a candidate to be in our starting rotation. So we'll bring up Gage, and he'll go ahead and take questions. Again, if you guys would just wait till the portable mic gets to you, and we'll have Gage up for about 10 minutes. Thank you. All right, Gage.
Gage, right here in the middle. Coach talked about, some of the feedback that he had gotten from players just about having the right staff in there. What's been your experience, especially with Coach Yeski and just some of these guys that you've been able to kind of grow and learn throughout the fall and now getting ready for the season?
Yeah, Coach Yeski, he's kind of in the middle of an old school coach and the new age coach. So with the technology and then kind of, some of the old school ideas, I like the mix that he gives us. And at the end of the day, our job's to get outs and preserve the lead that our hitters are going to score, our hitters are going to hit. And with him, it's all about being in good counts, attacking early, and then being able to finish and playing to your strengths. So I think, the way he teaches us these things, it's very helpful. And, every single one of the pitchers on our staff has elite talent and strengths. So just making that more consistent and a lot better and just using it more. So Coach Yeski's been huge, yeah.
Gage, when you hit the portal, Jay talked about the relationship y'all had when he was recruiting you while he was at Arizona. Why come here? And then the second question is, how are you in terms of coming back health-wise?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just wanted to be in the SEC. The Pac, I didn't really like the way it was going. And I don't have a long track record in college. I think I only have 16, 17 innings. And Coach Johnson, I've known him since high school. He's known my brother, so we kind of had that relationship already. And LSU, it's the best place in the world to play baseball. So I was super pumped to be able to be here. I'm grateful for that. And my arm, after Tommy John, I'm feeling really good. I think it's been 17, 18 months. And usually 18 to 21 is kind of when you're full go. There's no issues, so I'm feeling really good.
Gage, right here. You mentioned you only had 16 or 17 innings under your belt in college. Just, maybe just kind of describe your game to some of us who maybe aren't familiar with it, and just kind of what your strengths are and what you're hoping to maybe accomplish this year now that you're fully healthy.
Yeah, I'm a 4-pitch guy: fastball, curveball, slider, changeup. I'd like to say I'm very aggressive, and with Coach Yeski, the idea of suffocating the zone and playing to our strengths is basically putting pressure on the hitter. I'm just really happy to be pitching with the talent that we have on this team, and I'm really excited for season.
Obviously, Thatcher Hurd is another fellow UCLA transfer. What kind of relationship do you have with him, and what kind of factor did he play in for you in terms of coming here?
Yeah, I'm Thatcher. I've known him since I was at UCLA. He's extremely talented. He's a very aggressive pitcher. And yeah, I'm super pumped to be pitching alongside him, and really happy that he's here and I'm here, and we both can pitch together. So yeah, it's huge.
Gage, I'm just curious, what kind of, championship mentality are you seeing with some of the guys that are returning from last year's team, kind of, bringing everyone else along and up to their level, I guess?
Yeah, it's a lot different. I think, I envisioned LSU to be the top, and when I got here, it was just that and more. So, being with guys like Hayden, he's my roommate, kind of being able to talk shop with him and stuff like that is great. And then Michael Braswell, another transfer. The mindset that these guys have is we're gonna do everything we can to win, and playing selfless baseball for pitchers. Attacking the zone, getting as many outs as they need from us. So the team here, I love the mindset of everyone. It's very aggressive. It's attacking everything that we do. So yeah, I'm super excited.
Is
Is it that commitment to work? Is it next level, I guess, from kind of what you're used to?
Yeah, I think collectively, where I was at, it was a little questionable. I think for some of the players, but here it's kind of, you look to your left, you look to the right, and you trust everyone because we're playing for LSU and we're playing for each other. So yeah, it's a big difference, but I mean it's exactly what I envisioned.
Yeah, last year as you were hurt, did you know that you were going to enter the transfer portal at the end of the year, or was it something that kind of, I guess, during the year got in your mind more? And how much did you watch the SEC, and how much did you watch LSU last year? And as you watched, what were you thinking?
So my brother went to Kentucky for his 5th year, and he was a Pac-12 player too at Arizona State. And so he was kind of the one telling me, like, hey, the SEC is the real deal. That's kind of where you want to play. And I was watching LSU play in Omaha, and that's really when it clicked for me. I know I've always wanted to play in Omaha. I've always wanted to play in a super regional. And being at Alex Box Stadium with this kind of environment, I kind of thought of that when they were playing those games. And, I mean, it really clicked. I got really fired up, and I just really wanted to play here.
So Gage, let me double check something really quick. So you've been out for a while, right? Like a year and a half or so. Like, what kind of rust have you needed to sort of, I guess, polish off in that time that you've been out?
Rust, I don't know about rust, but just kind of staying the course. I think for Tommy John, it's very long and monotonous, and the PT gets a little boring sometimes. And last year, I mean, it was not fun just sitting in the dugout doing nothing. But now that I'm able to pitch, it's go time, and I'm super excited. It's been a long journey, but I'm really happy to be wearing this jersey and being at Alex Box Stadium.
What are some things that you've seen from Tommy since you've been here that you think lead him to being such a successful hitter?
Yeah, Tommy, it's tough to get out. He's got a good swing. He's very aggressive. I think the biggest thing is, if you throw a good pitch, he'll still hit it. So with him, it's pretty difficult. Very aggressive. I think he's a leader for our team, so I'm super excited to play for him.
Anyone else?
I saw you pitch in the fall a little bit, and it seemed like you were getting more comfortable coming back from that injury. Did you kind of get that feeling as you were throwing some more innings?
Yeah, I think especially at UCLA, there's not a ton of fans. And when we went to McNeese and played Lafayette, it was a lot different. But I think just, being in that small situation with, I don't know how many fans it was, but for me it was a lot. But it was very exciting, and I think people kind of talk about pressure, and I think if you can embrace it and take it as a privilege, it'll benefit you. So yeah, I think with this kind of atmosphere, it's different than what I'm used to, but then again, I've been trying to embrace it, and it's more fun like that.
Thank you, Gage.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll have Tommy White. Tommy, junior third baseman, his second year at LSU. As Coach alluded to, he led the nation in RBI last year with 105 and was named a first-team All-American. So we'll bring Tommy up, and he'll take your questions.
Tommy, everybody remembers last year it was Tommy White and Dylan Cruz. Those are the top 2 bats you have to stop if you want to beat LSU. My question is, who are some of the players that have stepped up to try to team up with Tommy White that you've seen, so it's Tommy White and these specific players?
Yeah, our whole lineup. Every single guy that's going to be out there can do exactly what was done last year. I know it was Tommy White and Dylan for a lot of it, but it was not that at all last year. I mean, Beloso, Dugas, all those guys, we just got on base and everybody cashed in. So I think it's going to be the same thing this year. Everybody's going to contribute, and we'll be good for that.
Tommy, right here, Coach mentioned kind of you and some other guys, choosing to stay and kind of, so saying you wanted to kind of move forward, obviously, as leaders. What have you seen maybe from that group of guys, and personally for you, where have you feel like you've grown to be a leader for this team?
Yeah, I mean, I had to come back. This is my home. I have one more year here, and yeah, just being that older guy now, part of the team. We got a really young team with a lot of talent. Just showing them how LSU runs and how LSU works and the standard that we have here, so we can leave it in better hands than we found it.
Hey, Tommy. One, how are you doing after post-surgery? And then secondly, is there anything, maybe something we don't see, is there anything or what can you do to help elevate your game to get you all to where you're back where you want to be?
Yeah, so surgery went well. It's awesome. I think so. Last year, opening day, it popped out, and it popped out probably 20 times throughout the year. So I was playing, popped out in the dog pile. So it was definitely a struggle throughout the year and something I had to play through. So I'm excited to finally play healthy. I mean, I was battling adversity all last year, and now that we're finally healed up and fixed up, it's should be fun. Yeah, I think for myself, just narrowing my zone, swinging at pitches that I can drive only. I tend to be a really, really aggressive hitter. I'm not going to lose that aggressiveness, but just be a little more selective.
Hey, Tommy, how has the chemistry been in the infield since you guys basically have a brand new infield this year? And then also, who has been the toughest pitcher you had to face this fall?
Yeah, the infields, we've been clicking really well. Every guy that came in, all the new guys, they know the standard and they've all gelled really well, and we're working really, really good in the infield. So I really like where we're at there. Toughest pitcher, guy that just talked. I think that he's got some stuff that's going to surprise y'all, and you guys are going to lean back and be like, wow. So I'm really excited to see him play.
Tommy, after winning a championship, what's the biggest thing maybe you learned about that journey, and how can you get back?
Yeah, I think that was definitely the toughest thing I've ever been a part of on the baseball field was Omaha. It was the most fun I've had and definitely the toughest. So I think just staying the course, being with the guys, just that's what we did last year. Was just we leaned on each guy to pick us up, when we're struggling and stuff like that. So that's gonna be a big part of this team is having great team chemistry and be able to lean on one another.
How do you keep it fresh too, though? Right, like you guys have had that experience. Obviously, new guys haven't. So how do you keep it fresh for the old guys?
Yeah, so everybody thinks we're defending. That's not even close. We're attacking. This is a brand new opportunity, brand new team. And we're taking every day like it's our last. So I'm excited. I don't really think about last year now. I'm just excited to get back there and attack each pitch, every out, and be a fun season.
How's Bear doing over at first?
Good. Yeah, I really like where he's at. He's awesome. I mean, he played a lot there last year. I mean, having Trey there, Trey's definitely the best defensive first baseman that college baseball has seen. But Bear's really, really good. So, I mean, he's going to be great for us, and he's going to do a lot with the stick, too.
Yeah, just kind of building on that a little bit. Ethan Fry, Paxton Kling, Jared Jones, Brady Neal, this was kind of the core young group that really got a chance to watch and see what it takes to win that championship last year. Just what have you seen from guys like that are back for their second year, and how impactful they're going to have to be for this season?
Maturity. They've matured like no other. I think they kind of got the memo during the season last year of how this place is run and everything, and they've showed a great example for the younger guys that came in. So I think that was a big part of it, is just maturity and how they know college now.
Tommy, obviously you were out for the fall, so what did you sort of learn about yourself, the team, your own game while you were sitting out for so long?
I definitely found out that I love baseball more than I thought I did. It being taken away from me, it was definitely the hardest thing, having to watch. I've never been in that situation before, having to watch baseball. I've been always out there playing. So it definitely found a new love for the game that I thought I always loved it, but now I know I really, really love it. So this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. Hopefully I can. And so yeah, that was probably the biggest takeaway I had from the fall being out.
How's Jay changed, if at all?
Same. He's more determined than ever, ready to attack. This is what he wants to do. He wants to build a dynasty, and that's what he's doing.
Tommy, if I could ask you a couple of quick questions. Lou Coleman coming over from Alabama, what kind of addition is he to your staff?
Huge. Great fastball, great secondary. He's an awesome person, great locker room guy. He's going to help us out a bunch. And, I mean, him being here, he's already experienced the SEC, so he knows what it's about. So, yeah, I think he's a great addition. He's going to help us out a lot.
And piggybacking on Seth's question about what you learned on the journey, even in a national championship year, you guys learned there will be losses, struggles here and there. Is that one of the bigger takeaways from last year?
Yeah, I think that it doesn't matter where you're at in the season. I mean, baseball is a weird game. It doesn't matter who it is. It's not like football where the biggest, baddest dudes win. It's best guy that day. So, yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway is just to stay the course, and every out, every pitch matters. That's a big thing. That's what I really learned in Omaha was, I mean, every pitch was just so locked in, so focused. And if we can be like that all year because we have that experience so we know that every pitch matters, it'll be pretty dangerous.
What's the plan for you over the next few weeks just to, get up to speed again and try to catch up in terms of at-bats and swings and all that sort of stuff?
So I'm hitting every inning. Jay has me in there every single inning. So I had 7 at-bats yesterday. So I'm doing a bunch to, get back to where I was.
It's a lot of at-bats, but I'm curious about Josh Pearson and how his development has come at second base, trying to move into that spot. What have you noticed from him growth-wise?
Yeah, I mean, he's a really good second baseman. I've not expected that, but, he's doing what he can do. He's holding his own, and he's going to be a great addition over there, and he's going to play there for a while, and he's going to do his best. And, I mean, I think it's Gold Glove material. He makes all the routine plays and makes all the diving plays, too. So he's something that surprised me a little bit. But, I mean, I was the one that told him that he told me he came in as a second baseman, and then they put him in the outfield. I said, you need to tell Jay that you can play second base because we need a second baseman. And he took that role, and he's not looked back. And, I mean, you wouldn't think that he played any other position.
I was wondering if you've heard from a lot of fans to tell you where they were when they were watching the Wake Forest game, and what they were doing, and whether they were in Omaha or here or wherever. And I wonder if you have a favorite story.
I don't know if I have a favorite. I think the coolest thing I saw was the video of somebody took the video of me hitting the walk-off, and it was like all the parent section reaction. That was the coolest thing I've seen. It was how cheerful and how joyful. And then, watching all of our guys come out of the dugout, it brings a tear to my eye. And it was awesome, special moment. But yeah, that was probably the coolest thing.
Hey, Tom. A lot of people talk about your leadership, how you're one of the guys that commands the team. What is your leadership style?
I like to lead by example if I can. I will be vocal if possible, but I just try to do what's right and, just lead by example and show them how it is by not really talking or anything. But, yeah, that's just how I am. That's how Dylan was, and I just watched Dylan all last year and just tried to copy his style because, dude's the greatest to do it.
You were talking about the home run. I think you saw the kids that dressed up as you for Halloween.
Yeah.
What'd you think about that?
I think it's awesome. I definitely have a unique look on the field, and for kids to embrace that, it warms my heart. It's awesome. That's why I do it.
You said earlier, over here, sorry. You said earlier that all last season you were dealing with adversity, your shoulder, and still being regarded as one of, if not the best hitter in college baseball. What do you think your ceiling is now, being fully healthy?
I'm not really looking at any numbers or anything. I'm just looking at wins. If I can help the team win that day, I did my job. If I'm 0 for 4, 0 for 5, if I'm 5 for 5, doesn't matter. As long as we get the W at the end of the day, I did my job.
Anything else for Tommy?
Thanks, guys.
Okay, thanks. All right, next we'll bring up Josh Pearson. Josh, in his third year at LSU, out of West Monroe, of course, played left field last year and has been working at second base this year. So, Josh will come up and take your questions.
What's up, guys?
So, Josh, what's life like at second base?
It's different for sure. Got super used to the outfield, but second base is a lot of fun so far. Loving the guys. They kind of just took me in with open arms and showed me the ropes, kind of. So I'm enjoying it.
What's your experience with the position before you moved over?
I played it in high school a good bit, in summer ball and stuff like that. I always played second base or third base. So, but I mean, that was 4 years ago. So it's definitely been, I've gotten super used to the outfield. So it's definitely still a transition, but it's kind of all coming back to me now. But
Building off that a little bit, obviously this was something that Gavin Dugas did last year. I was wondering if you've had any conversations with him this offseason about just the transition and what it's like making that move from outfield to infield, and just maybe any advice he could have given you during that process.
yeah, I mean, I talked to Gavin a good bit. Right whenever it first started, he did not believe me. He thought I was lying. And then he came to a fall inter squad, and I was playing second base. So we kind of talked about it after that. His big thing was just making the routine plays, because I mean, I don't have to do anything extra out there. If I just field the ground ball when I get it and get the out, and that's all that really matters at the end of the day. I don't have to try to be anything fancy. Just make the play whenever the ball's hit to me.
Is there some advantages to having, 3/4 of the infield new? You guys kind of all get to learn together. I mean, I know Bear played some last year, but, just everybody kind of learning together.
Yeah, I think there's definitely an advantage to it. Having guys like Tommy and Ben, who were here last year and are really good infielders, having them kind of right there with us, walking us along with how Coach Johnson does infield practice and things like that. He works our legs a lot, gets us staying low, and he gives us water breaks, but it's a lot of work out there. But it's definitely a lot of fun having guys that weren't here last year, like all the freshmen, and then Michael Braswell. We're just kind of all doing everything together, and it makes it a lot of fun.
Josh, right here, what's kind of been your viewpoint of Michael Braswell, and how's that chemistry and continuing to kind of develop together?
He's a vocal guy. He's always talking out there at shortstop. Helps me out a lot because, I mean, I haven't played second base in a while, so there's still a lot of things that I'm still getting used to within the game, and he's really helping me out a lot. I mean, there'll be balls hit, and he's telling me what to do while he's doing what he's supposed to do, so he's definitely a big help. I mean, 2 years starting in the SEC on the infield, that really helps out a lot. So he's been a great help for me.
What kind of effect did Brady Neal have in the locker room following his injury last year, especially in like Omaha and the Super Regionals and whatnot?
Oh, Brady's an awesome locker room guy. He's first one there for you when you do good in the game. And I mean, if you're having a tough day, he's right there with you. He'll talk to you, like poke fun at you, but I mean, it's a lot of fun. He's a great locker room guy. I mean, the injury didn't really change him as a person. He stuck with it. He's grinding through the injury, getting out of it now, but he's always been a great locker room guy for sure.
Back here, it's all right. Can you talk about Cade Anderson since he's been on campus and maybe what you've seen from him?
Oh, he is nasty. I had to face him first day of live at bats, and it was kind of a wake up call. Hadn't hit in like a month or something because leaving summer ball, coming back to school, and I mean, he just blew me up with the fastball. So he'll definitely be good for us. He's a hard worker, super smart kid. I'm excited to see him during the season for sure.
You talk about the positional versatility on this team. Obviously, you, Jake Brown, Hayden Travinsky, Brady, y'all kind of moving around a little bit throughout this offseason. Just what kind of benefits can that have for you guys going into 2024, knowing that you have a bunch of guys that can play several positions?
Yeah, it helps coach out a lot because him writing the lineup on that day, having guys who can play 2 to 3 positions, it definitely helps him out, trying to put the best lineup out there possible every day. So we've all been working as hard as we can to be able to play anywhere we can on the field.
How open were you originally to the idea of moving to second base, and do you think it helps your potential professional prospects at all by doing this?
Yeah, I was excited about it. It's a new challenge in the game. I mean, it's still the same game of baseball, but I mean, outfield to infield, it is almost like a completely new game. So it was definitely a lot of fun. I was a little nervous first inter squad game, but practice was, I mean, doing things I haven't done in 4 years. It was a lot of fun, and I mean, not as concerned as like the draft and things like that. I'm really just how I can help the team this year.
Josh, we're reliving a few moments in here. Tommy talking about his home run. Since that catch you made, how much have you heard about it? And after the game, you acted like it's no big deal. I just made a catch. But how is it taking on new life?
At the time, in the game, I didn't really think much of it. I expected myself to make that catch, so it wasn't. I didn't think like I did anything crazy or anything like that. But going back home, they gave me the key to the city for the catch, so it was definitely. I was like, wow, like that was kind of a thing we practice every single day. So, I mean, it was awesome, but we expect to make plays like that for our pitchers who are working hard. So, I mean, I'm trying to do it again this year.
Your teammates say you have no pulse, that you don't get very high or low. Do you bring that calming presence to the team as a leader, do you think? Or?
I try to. I try to stay grounded wherever I'm at. If I'm having a tough day, if I'm having a really good day, try to be the same person throughout everything. And I feel like that really helps me. No matter what can be presented my way, it'll help me stay where I'm at and be prepared.
Do you get anything cool with the key to the city? Can you get in anywhere?
Haven't found anything I can unlock with it yet, but it's pretty cool. I have it hanging in my room right now, so I like it a lot.
What's it going to take, I guess, for the guys that have been here to kind of, hit the reset button and pull the guys that haven't along with them?
Yeah, that's been kind of our motto this fall, is that we're not defending the national championship or anything like that. We're attacking this new year. Guys, we've kind of flushed it. We talk about, I don't think Coach Johnson celebrated last year's national championship. He's got back to work, got a new roster built for this year, and we're all super excited, and we're ready to do it again.
A simple question, but what have you learned about playing second base? Like, what are some things you didn't know previously that now, that's how you do it,
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in high school you kind of just work on fielding the ground balls and catching throws. You don't really learn the ins and outs. And in the outfield, I mean, ball gets hit in the gap, I run and I throw it to the infielder, and I kind of just know that they're supposed to be there. And now it's kind of the other way. Like, I know I have to be there for the outfielders to throw the ball to me. And that was just kind of something I never really thought about. I thought I was just going to be out there fielding ground balls. But it's a big change for sure.
What's harder, left field or second base?
Oh, it's a good question. Right now, probably second base, because I've played outfield for a long time. But I think it just kind of depends on what you've been doing your whole life. For me, last year, I would say outfield was way easier than infield. But if you ask me that question in a couple months, I might answer second base a little easier.
I know you're a competitor and a high-level one. Is there kind of a grace period you're giving yourself throughout the early portion of these scrimmages and getting into the early part of the season of just learning the nuances in a game atmosphere of this position?
I'm trying to hold myself to a high standard, but not be super tough on myself, because I know it's going to be tough. I'm going to make errors. It's a little different than the outfield. In the outfield, you're not supposed to make near as many errors because, I mean, you get fly balls hit to you. In the infield, you get some really hard ground balls hit to you, so errors are going to happen, and it's just kind of something you got to get used to. But definitely, I'm still attacking it for sure. Don't want to give myself too much leeway or anything like that. I want to be hard on myself for sure, but I don't want to be too hard that I'm playing down out there. I want to play aggressive on the infield for sure.
Did you own an infield glove before you took the spot here?
I did not. I'm using Monster Milam's infield glove right now.
Still?
Yeah, still right now.
Are you just looking for one?
I have one now. I'm breaking it in, so
yeah.
I might have it by the season. Hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else for Josh? All right, thank you, Josh.
Yep, thank you.
All right, next up, we'll bring up first baseman Jared Jones. Jared is a sophomore, and as Coach mentioned, had a tremendous freshman year. He was a freshman All-American and freshman All-SEC player, and returning this year at first base. Jared Jones.
Jared, right here. What'd you learn last year about yourself in terms of just person and maturing, and then at the plate? Because you started off hot, and then there was, some ups and downs. What did you learn to make yourself better this year?
Yeah, I think Coach Johnson says it best. I think the jump from high school to college baseball is the biggest jump in talent gap that you'll make as a baseball player. So it took a lot of time to adjust to get used to the speed of the game. It is true what they say that the game speeds up at the next level. For me, I just try to take it one day at a time. I learned how to handle my emotions better with the ups and downs throughout the year last year, and just trying to take that into this year.
The biggest thing we've spoken with Coach Johnson, just kind of about you and the improvements that you needed to make were just kind of the mental side of things, just growing mentally in terms of just have a couple bad at bats, don't let that turn into a whole series kind of deal. Just what kind of strides do you think you've made in that area, and just kind of how ready are you to kind of go into this season knowing that you've made those strides?
Yeah, I'm extremely excited to get into this year. I think I've made a great strides as far as that is concerned. That's something that I've had sit-down meetings with Coach Johnson in his office talking about my mental game and just how can I keep improving it. It's never going to be a finished product. I'm still, probably going to get upset at times or get frustrated, but just kind of stay the course and take things one pitch at a time.
You're going to inevitably get compared to Trey, right, taking over that position. How important is it for you to play your game the way that you play it and not necessarily try to live up to some expectations?
Yeah, I think Trey Morgan played an amazing first base. And for me, being able to kind of watch him play for a year and develop under him, he was a great mentor and leader on the team last year, and he helped me out tremendously. And that's something that, when he's in the hitting building today, working out, getting ready for pro ball, that, we still cut it up and laugh sometimes. So the fact that he was able to kind of like take me under his wing and show me the ropes and now handing them to me for this year, I'm just super excited to do what I can over at first base and make the routine plays.
As far as what's more important to you, the defense or the receiving?
I think they both have their importance. Obviously, all I want to do is just, make my infielders look good, drop third strikes, throwing down to first base, just anything I can do, turning double plays, picking balls for my infielders, just helping them look as good as they possibly can.
And how much did being in the lineup every day last year help you as opposed to when you were DHing only?
Yeah, DHing was different. I started off the year last year as DH, and you kind of sitting in the dugout just watching the game for most of it. So it took me a minute to get used to that because I was used to playing in the field all the time. But I was just super happy to have my name in the lineup last year. And so I didn't take that for granted, and I won't do that again this year. And so I'm just really excited to kind of go and attack this season.
What are some, specific offensive improvements that you want to make at the plate for this year?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is going to be strike zone discipline. Swinging at pitches that I know I can hit well, and kind of laying off everything else, especially early on in the count, just getting my pitch and doing damage with it.
Where do you feel like there's the most room for improvement in your game?
It's a great question. There's a lot of things I'm still trying to work on. I'm still very young, in my opinion. So just anytime I can work on my maturity, whether that's at the plate or defensively, as a leader. I am technically a veteran player on this team now this year. And so stepping up into a leadership role and kind of taking any freshmen I can under my wing and helping them out. But for me, it's just the mental side of the game. It's a really tough game. It's a game of failure. And I just want to be the best that I can day in and day out and be very consistent with that.
We've heard a lot about we're not defending, we're attacking as far as trying to repeat as national champs. How much has this team bought into that mantra?
100%. I don't think there is a team meeting or a one-on-one conversation with the coaches that is not involved with attacking versus defending. And I think we've kind of accepted that mindset, and we're going to do a great job of embracing that. And we are super excited. I think we're 21 days away now, so we have 21 more days of preparation, and then it's attack mode from there on.
When asked, said that Gage was pretty tough. Who has really stood out to you on the mound so far?
Yesterday was our first inter-squad, and I faced, 3 really good pitchers, and Thatcher, Guidry, and DJ Primo. And I think, last year it's easy to watch the tape on those guys and say, they're going to be really successful at this level. But even with Coach Yeski coming in and them taking the next steps towards becoming elite pitchers in this SEC. And so for me, those three guys just yesterday, really tough at bats. And, they say iron sharpens iron. So we're just going to keep out there and competing with each other. And I think that's great for our offense because we're facing the best pitching staff in the country day in and day out. And then it's great for our pitchers because they have to face a great offense every day.
Speaking of DJ, what made him so tough during your at-bat against him?
Well, for starters, he throws really hard. I think his fastball's been up to 97 already in the fall. So, I'm sure with adrenaline rushing, he'll be up, upper 90s. And then he's got a phenomenal slider, and he locates really well. And Coach Yeski does a great job of calling pitches, and he does a great job of executing those pitches. And when you have a pitcher that can not only command the strike zone well, but has great stuff like he does, it makes for a really tough at-bat.
You mentioned strike zone discipline is something you want to improve on. I mean, how do you go about improving on something like that?
Yeah, I think it starts with visualization before the game, putting the pitcher that you're facing on the mound and kind of visualizing what his pitches look like and how you're going to, get a base approach off of him. And then from there, it's just about execution. I've worked on the machine in the cages on sliders and fastballs and hitting both at the same time, taking the ones out of the zone, swinging at the ones in the zone, and just repetition as much as possible with that.
With Paul Skeens and Ty Floyd now moving on, how do you feel about Thatcher kind of moving to the, if not the front of the line, close to it? And how did he pitch for you guys, like especially late in the year last year?
There's no doubt in my mind that Thatcher Hurd will be a top 5 arm in the country this year. Tremendous human being, one of the hardest workers on this team, comes in every day with the same mindset of wanting to get better, and he goes out there on the mound and shows that. And I think he's going to do a great job stepping up in that role for us this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next speaker is our shortstop, Michael Braswell. As Coach told you, Michael's played at South Carolina for 2 years and transferred here to LSU as our shortstop. So Michael will take your questions.
Coach Johnson pretty much just told us one of the very first calls he made was when he saw your name enter the portal was to you. Just what was it about LSU and Coach Johnson that made you want to come play here? And just, I guess, how excited are you to get started?
Numerous things, honestly. From the outside looking in, when I was at Carolina last year, LSU has a fantastic program, best fan base in the country. I always rooted for LSU growing up. It definitely was my dream school growing up, and I didn't really expect the call, honestly. Like from the outside looking in, you can look at my stats and say, like, dang, like they getting guys in the transfer portal like Tommy White and Thatcher Hurd and Gage Jump, like all these top end guys, and then you get me out the portal, and then you might look at that sideways. But when I got the call, man, I was happy as I don't know what. I tell people all the time this, and this is a true story. You ask my dad, I got the call, and I teared up on the phone. I cried, man, because I never thought I'd have the opportunity to play at a program like this. And the selling point really was just, hitting development, right? And Coach Johnson told me, he talked to me and said that, look, we think you have the base pieces to be a really good hitter, and with our development, we could take you to the next level, and put my trust and faith in him and to get me better, and it's going well so far.
He said you and Chief have been working and having a lot of success, I guess, early on. I guess what's changed or what kind of clicked for you?
It's all mainly mechanical, using my lower body in my swing, and just trying to get more balls more in the air, in the gaps and everything, because the last 2 years of my college career, I've kind of been a ground ball hitter, slap guy, hit the ball the other way, and using more of my body to unlock more of my power and drive the ball more in the gaps. So
just two of the things that Jay kind of talks about when he talks about you. The story that Glenn was talking about, he said, no, why don't you come tomorrow? you know, as far as like when you're on the phone with him, that he didn't want to wait for you, right? And then when you got here and went through fall ball, he was pretty confident in that you were going to be the starting shortstop. Like, what does that do for you? You're kind of underselling yourself, I mean, to us, but what does that do for you as far as elevating your confidence in your game?
It means the world to me, you know, to have probably the best coach in the country, in my opinion, have that much trust in you and have that much confidence in you. And, you know, I think a lot of that is due to the work we put in, right? I've worked tirelessly with Chief, tirelessly with Coach Johnson to make sure these improvements are what they need to be. And, you know, and it's kind of, it started to come to fruition a little bit during the fall. Obviously, I'm not there yet completely. You know, we still have a long way to go. But I definitely say that it's been a great process, though, 100%.
What kind of teammates, or which teammates have been making the transition from South Carolina to LSU pretty easy, you know?
I'd say all of them, really. All the teammates have been exceptionally, you know, very, what's the word I'm trying to use? Very, let's say, making it easy for me to come on. And they're very open. Every teammate, you know, we have a standard. There's a standard here. You know, Hayden Travinsky, Alex Milazzo make sure the standard is set and make sure we carry through with the standard. And that's really why it's been a smooth transition, right? The two captains on the team and them just making sure we all live up to the standard and we meet the standard every day. So.
What's been the chemistry like in the infield, especially with a guy like Jared Jones?
The chemistry has been amazing, really. I mean, everybody likes each other. Everybody's friends. I mean, hey, we're all cool with each other in the infield, and we all try to get each other better every day, right? Like I talked about the standard earlier, there's a standard in the infield as well, right? I mean, we're just trying to be better, get better every day, you know, and try to be the best infield in the country, right? And that's our goal, and, you know, we're trying to meet that goal.
Yeah, kind of to that end, you know, Josh is moving back to second, Bears, you know, taking over full-time at first. Like, how much does it help that you guys are all kind of doing it together, right? Tommy's established, but the rest of you are, you're not coming in and being the one guy that doesn't know the other three.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's very crucial, right? I mean, especially with JP making the transition from outfield to second base. And the thing about the chemistry that we have is what makes the chemistry our chemistry is when somebody might not be as comfortable or when somebody is like makes an error every once in a while, we pick them up, right? And we make it to where we build up their confidence enough to where they can, you know, play free on the field, right? And like I said, especially with JP, you know, I think he hadn't played second base since high school, and he's come out there like a natural this fall and starting the spring. So our goal is just to make everybody as comfortable as possible and pick them up when they're down. So.
Michael, long time no see. So on the infield with Josh in particular, what are some of, I guess, some strengths that he's had that he showcased at second base, and what are some things that you think could maybe use like extra refining just because, as you said, he hasn't played there since high school?
Well, JP, like I said, the transition has been smooth for him. I mean, he's an athlete, really athletic, can make all the throws, all the arm angles, everything you need from an infielder in college baseball, and it was kind of shocking to me because I didn't know he had kind of the skills to do what he's doing now. And I mean, he's balling out, honestly, at second base. And strength is just the thing that he needs to improve on. Probably just positioning, you know, like just the natural infield positioning. Like, if a guy's late, moves a couple steps this way, kind of naturally, you know, in the sense. So it's more just like instinctual things that infielders that have been playing there for 3 years of college would know. But I mean, he'll get there, 100%.
We've heard a lot from the guys about we're not defending, we're attacking. I'm curious from your perspective of coming in here, what have you noticed maybe about the standard in this building?
Standard is extremely high. Coach Johnson, Hayden Travinsky, Alex Milazzo, they all set the standard. And standard here, like I said, and standard is to attack, right? And attack meaning that we're not last year's team, right? And we're not trying to be them. Right, we're trying to attack the season in a way that it's 55 regular season games, 55 playoff games, right? And if we do that, then hey, the goals that we set for ourselves, we think we'll meet them. So that's really what all it is.
Right here, you talked about kind of the standard, and obviously you had an idea of what that might be like when even before you got here. When you did get here, was it a little bit even higher than maybe you originally kind of envisioned?
100%. I'd say that. Like I talk a lot about from the outside looking in, but being at Carolina last year and seeing that, you might think, oh, I mean, Coach Johnson just recruits really well. That's where they win. They have all the talent, Dylan Cruz, all the guys, Tommy White, and everything. But man, when I got here, I was like, dang, they put in a lot of work, like an unreal amount of work. Like, I mean, our practice schedules are very defined, very detailed, and we put in uber amounts of work, man. Like, it's insane. But yeah, it definitely was an adjustment at first. Got to really hone in on the recovery part of it and everything. But Coach Johnson puts us in the best position to be successful, and we work hard to mirror that. So,
Kind of sticking here in the back, kind of sticking here with the standard. You're watching two teams from the league make it to the top of the top. Obviously, LSU coming out on top. What were your thoughts during that time?
well, at that time, I was committed to LSU, so I was rooting for them very much in Omaha. And it was just cool, like being able to say that I'm going to be at a program that won a national championship the year before. Not many people can say that. And, well, very few people can say that, honestly. And I definitely was rooting for them in Omaha, obviously because of the timing of when I committed, but 100% rooting for them. 100%.
You used to close games as a pitcher with South Carolina. Is there any sort of future with you on the mound anymore?
I'll do whatever Coach Johnson wants me to do, but as of right now, I'd say that pitching probably isn't in the cards. We have a really deep pitching staff, and a lot of things would have to go wrong for me to go pitch on the mound. So hopefully that doesn't come to fruition.
Yeah, Michael, what wasn't your decision to leave South Carolina? Because it's always tough to leave a place where they have a good baseball program. Why leave there, and why has LSU always been your dream school?
Well, the reason why I left South Carolina was I wanted the opportunity to play everyday shortstop at a winning program, and I wanted to just have a chance to be everyday shortstop, right? And I didn't believe I had a chance there at South Carolina at the time. They have some really good players over there, Will Tibbett and those guys, and hit the portal. And LSU was the choice, so that's why I left South Carolina. But can you remind me what the second question was?
Why was LSU your dream school? Why's it always been your dream school?
Well, it's kind of childish, but I mean, I was playing NCAA football when I was younger, and I know it's childish to say the colors, but when I'm like 5, 6, 7 years old and I see, ooh, man, the Tigers look pretty cool in those colors, and you can ask my parents, man, like I was like, dude, I want to go to LSU. Parents told me it was too far coming out of high school, but it was okay, and yeah, that's why it was my dream school.
You said earlier you're kind of like you used to be a slap grounder kind of hitter, but earlier Jay Johnson said that you've really improved and you're one of the best hitters in the fall scrimmages and stuff like that. Would you say that you attribute your improvement more towards strength and coaching in that, or do you think you've come a long way as a player?
Definitely a lot of it is due to coaching, right? Like, I mean, I believe that Coach Wanaka and Coach Johnson are the best hitting coaches in the country, and just the amount of work they put into me and time and effort they've put into me really boded well to the fall and really helped me as a player as well. So definitely the coaches, 100%. All
else for Michael?
right, thank you.
All right, our final player today will be Gavin Guidry. Gavin, of course, in his sophomore year out of Barb High School in Lake Charles. He was the top relief pitcher on the club last year and pitched many meaningful innings, particularly in the postseason and in Omaha. So Gavin Guidry.
How y'all doing?
Gavin, how unique was last year? You come to LSU, Mr. Baseball, Gatorade Player of the Year, and it was Gavin Guidry's going to play in the infield and Gavin Guidry's going to hit. And then it ends up Gavin Guidry is on the mound for the last out of the College World Series. Was it completely not what you expected last year? And how do you adjust to this year, and how's it changed for you?
Yeah, I mean, you go into the season, you just try to do whatever you can to help the team win, right? The fall is for development, and that's kind of whenever you focus on yourself. And then once it comes to winning games, it's whatever you got to do to help the team win. So it came down to it, and they asked me to start throwing again. And You know, I didn't even think twice about it. Now, I didn't really think that I would be in the position that I was in at the end of the year, but, you know, that's how it worked out. And then transitioning to this year, it's kind of the same thing, right? Like, you just go in, show up every day, attack the day, show up at the beginning of the year, you know, game one, and it's, you know, whether you're throwing the first pitch of the year or you're not pitching at all that Friday night, like, whatever you got to do to help us win games, what you got to do. So, I mean, it's the same mindset as last year. You know, you're just attacking it, and you're going out there to win every day, competing.
Obviously, you know, playing the infield and hitting is still in the cards for you. But how much has it helped? You know, actually being able to like ramp up as a pitcher heading into this season.
Yeah, it's been really good. Coach Yeski and Coach Johnson have done a really good job with me this year on you know, giving my arm the time that it needs to build up, and you know, just putting myself in the best position to, you know, be the best of me. So. I mean, it's been really good, the process of development and going through it the right way. And then now it's kind of slowing down and focusing on the pitching side and getting a little bit more rest, letting my body recover more. So hopefully I can extend a little bit more, you know, go through the lineup once or twice maybe, you know, see where it goes, and then ultimately just showing up and competing.
Hey, Gavin, one of the performances that stick out to me is putting a bow on the Super Regional over Kentucky. What do you make, piggybacking off the first question, what do you make of your performance on the back half of the season, or the postseason, rather?
Yeah. I mean, I would say that it wasn't just me. It was really the whole staff. You know, we really came together after the SEC tournament and put a lot of the pieces of the puzzle together, and things just started to fit and right. And we kind of, I don't know if it would say like find our identity, but we just kind of figured a lot of things out late in the year. And I mean, it paid off. You know, you would rather have your best stuff at the end of the year than you would, you know, middle of the year. You know, whenever games matter, we showed up, and you know, ultimately that's why you do everything that you do throughout the year. Is whenever the games matter, you show up and you have your best stuff. So it was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously came in here maybe with one vision of how you were going to contribute to this team, and ended up being another. Just how comfortable are you with the fact that maybe your future is in pitching and maybe not with, you know, fielding and hitting? Just how's that kind of gone through your mind mentally throughout the last several months?
Yeah, I mean, it's different, right? I always grew up being a hitter first and then kind of a pitcher after that, and it was one of the things that I did growing up to help my team win. Not necessarily what I wanted to do in the future, but I mean, God has a plan for everything, right? Like, you know, you don't control the timing of things and how it works out. You know, it's completely out of your control. So I would say just kind of trusting everything and just, you know, having faith in Him that, you know, He's putting you in the right positions for things to work out, and you just control what you can control. You know, showing up every day, attacking the day, you know, attacking my routine, recovering, you know, taking care of all the stuff that I can take care of, and just kind of leave it in His hands.
Tell me about this year's staff. Just what are you seeing in them early?
Yeah, there's a lot to see. I mean, top to bottom, you know, there's guys that can go out. You have lefties, you have righties, you have, you know, big spin guys, you have changeup guys, you have guys who can sink the ball, you have guys who can carry the ball, guys throwing 100, you know, I mean, everything you could possibly imagine whenever you're building a pitching staff. But I'd say the really thing that it boils down to is just us going out there and executing pitches, right? Competing, knowing how to get guys out. And, you know, throughout the fall, the younger guys, the guys that came back in, the guys that are out of the transfer portal really did that really well. I was super impressed with the freshman class, you know, Cam Johnson and Cade Anderson and all of those guys on the mound to, you know, really just go in there and compete and throw strikes and trust their stuff. So it's really big.
Gavin, Coach talked about, you know, just knowing that he had the right guys in the building, both on the roster and in the staff. Obviously, Coach Yeski's been a big addition for you. What has your experience been like with him, and are there several examples maybe that you could share where you guys were able to get together and kind of maybe unlock something even more for your growth as a pitcher?
Yeah, Coach Yeski's amazing. He's the perfect balance between, you know, the modern technology and being able to understand all that kind of stuff, but staying old school with mentality and, you know, mindset, and ultimately favoring, you know, just being a competitor. You know, he really favors getting guys out over like the analytics stuff, you know. Numbers don't lie, and when you go out there and you're going to do your job, throw strikes, get guys out, it doesn't really matter what the analytics say if it's working out. But I would say the one thing that he's really helped me with is starting to develop a lot of confidence in my fastball again. You know, it's something that just kind of weathered away a little bit throughout the year last year just from not using it as much. But, you know, him showing me that he has a ton of confidence in my fastball and that he's not going to just pigeonhole me to just throwing only breaking balls and that be the only way for me to get guys out. And so we've really worked really hard on that throughout the fall, and then coming into the spring inter-squads, me pitching, you know, throwing a ton of fastballs. Yesterday, I pitched yesterday through 2 innings and probably threw like 75, 80% fastballs. Just him kind of forcing me to go in there and locate the fastball and compete with that pitch, I think is going to be really big for me.
You mentioned Cade Anderson. What have you seen from him so far, and being in that position last year, like how have you maybe tried to help him in his transition to college baseball?
Yeah, I mean, I played with him on Team USA whenever he was going from his sophomore to junior year, and I was going from my junior to senior year, so he was playing a year up. And I mean, he's always had electric stuff, right? I think Coach Johnson said this in a press conference or an interview or something a week ago or two, but if he wouldn't have got Tommy John, I don't know if he would have ended up here, right? Like, it was one of those things where it was a blessing in disguise, you know, as far as for LSU fans, because he's going to be an elite pitcher here for 2 or 3 years, however long he's here. He's going to pitch at a very high level here. He has a ton of confidence in his stuff, a ton of comfortability to just go in there, throw the ball over the plate, compete in the zone. And then he has 3 pitches he can throw for a strike whenever he wants them. So, I mean, it's pretty special.
What was it like as a true freshman to step in and be part of the experience from mid-February to late June and witness it all? And what did you learn walking away from it? You've always been described as a guy who's not wide-eyed about anything, but were there moments where like, whoa, I'm out here at the World Series or whatever?
Man, I would say, first off, I mean, it was an amazing opportunity that I didn't think that I was going to get going into the season, right? But I don't think that there was ever a time that I was kind of brought back or just kind of in awe. But, I mean, every time I went out there, I was grateful for the opportunity to go out there and compete, you know. Not many freshmen get to pitch on the level that I got, and not many freshmen get that opportunity. And he trusted me to get the job done. So it didn't go unnoticed as far as the opportunity that I was getting. But I wouldn't say that I was, you know, brought back or in awe really ever, but just extremely grateful and humble to get the opportunities.
I think you're like the last guy that we're going to talk to today, and like none of us have asked about the catchers, but they're both the team captains, right? Like, what do they mean to this team?
Yeah. I mean, they're almost part of the pitching staff, right? Like, those guys, they're around us every day. I'm around the catchers just as much as I am the other pitchers. But, I mean, Milazzo and Travinsky and Brady and those guys really what make us go, right? They provide a ton of confidence in us, you know, seeing them work hard day in and day out. And, you know, it's something that we can just really go out there and trust, right? We see them every single day in the cages, working on their receiving, working on their blocking, you know, catching all of our bullpens, getting beat up for us. And, I mean, it's something that you can really get behind whenever you're out there competing and just trusting them. So, it's really important.
Obviously, your concentration has been more on pitching, but like how much, you know, infield work and hitting have you been trying to mix in there a little bit, you know, just so you stay fresh there at least?
Yeah, right now I'm just focusing on pitching, you know, trying to let my body completely reset and get back to full 100%, get my legs all the way underneath me, try to put a little bit more weight on before the season starts, get a little more strength. And then, you know, if ever something takes place where, you know, I need to start hitting and taking ground balls or doing anything that I need to do to help us win, you know, that's definitely still on the table. But as far as it right now, it's just pitching for me.
What can you tell us about the growth of guys who came in the same time at you but didn't get to pitch last year, as in DJ and Aiden? How have you kind of seen them grow as pitchers over the offseason?
Yeah. Well, DJ was from Louisiana, right? It's a guy that I got to compete against in high school a little bit. And then me and Moffitt played on the same summer ball team. So, I mean, it's guys that I knew had the stuff to, you know, compete here and pitch here. And it's been really cool to watch them, you know, go from last year where, like you said, they didn't get many opportunities, and how, I mean, they're going to be guys that we go to often and out of the pen to help us get out of situations and out of jams, because their stuff is elite. Moffitt's running up to 100 miles an hour, has 2 elite off-speed pitches. DJ might have the best single pitch on the pitching staff with his slider. It's probably the best pitch on the team. And then his fastball is super hard to pick up. It has a lot of deception there. And then, both of those guys have just really gotten a mentality that they didn't have last year that could be really special for us this year as far as, being a driving force for our success for sure.
Is the hair just taller? If the roster says you're 6'2", 178, you're definitely heavier than last year, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I got up to like 185. So, yeah, last year I think it said it was 174. I got up to 185. I was trying to get to 190 before season, and then try to hold it throughout the year.
Is it difficult?
Yeah, putting weight on for me is very difficult. Some guys don't struggle with it, but I mean, it's something that I have to put a lot of focus on and a lot of attention to every single day. Making sure I'm hydrating well, sleeping well, getting 5 or 6 meals in every day to be able to put the weight on and hold the weight.
Thought it was interesting when you said you're trying to develop more confidence in the fastball and not just throw the breaking ball. Usually it's reversed like that for pitchers. Mm-hmm. What's that been like in terms of everybody usually just like, I can just throw a fastball and throw it hard. What's that process been like to develop the confidence back in the fastball?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of been pretty fun, right? Like it wasn't something that I had to ever really work on when I was in high school, because obviously when you're in high school you throw a lot more fastballs. Had a good fastball for high school baseball, and a lot of guys just struggled hitting it. So the pitch that I used a lot more. So I had a ton of confidence in it. But I would say the first thing is you got to know what confidence comes from, and it's just complete trust in yourself, right? I would say confidence is mainly comes from preparing and seeing things work out, and then just understanding that you can do it. So I mean, that's why he's having me throw so many fastballs right now, to where he trusts in my fastball and he trusts my command and the shape of my fastball, and it's just a lot more of me completely filling it out and understanding what I need to do to compete with that pitch.
Anyone else? All right, thanks, Gavin.
Thank you.